So we are streaming, which means that we probably need to use the mics. Otherwise, folks who might be listening won't be able to hear us.
Okay. For those at home, let you know that we have been meeting for the past hour with department head reports. We were not able to get online with technical difficulties. We are now back live, transmitting to the general public, and we're about to have a presentation from Stacy Dion and the Wage Matrix Committee on the Wage Matrix proposed. Mrs. Dion.
So we cannot turn on the overhead projector. So do we want to postpone that presentation to next Monday? It's up to you, because I can't.
If we can, I think it's a great idea, because
Do you have that on a thumb drive? No.
Do I have it on what?
Do you have your presentation? Okay, because then you
So
can.
so I just.
It's typically turn the projector on.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's not good.
So we can't turn the projector on. So.
I think it'll move the board to be able to see.
And so most of the presentation is in a big, large spreadsheet. So.
if you don't mind coming back next Monday, I'm sorry to do that, but it would be.
Yeah. It's not doing anything.
All right.
I'm
Just hold this up another piece.
Well,
It's just one of those.
I know everyone's tried, but sometimes you just never know. The gremlins are everywhere.
The gremlins.
There you go.
Oh.
Well,
Don't even
it has
say that.
batteries, but we don't
So
have to
I can briefly go over
Why don't you give a general overview, and then we'll
come
call the
back
numbers
with
next
when
Monday.
I can
To be
present.
continued, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on, Glenn. Let's not even worry anymore. We're wasting too much time here. Okay, thank you. Stacy, please go ahead.
All right. So we've been working on the wage matrix for about a year and a half. We started with 21 towns that closely aligned with demographics. The demographics that we used were for population and for per capita income for this town. So we aligned with that. We used town reports, so I have all the demographics for the 21 towns and all the town reports from the 21 towns where we took salary information. And then what we did with that salary information, depending on the year of the report, if it was a 22 report or a 23 report, we brought the data up to 2025 data using the Northeast COLA, the Northeast cost of living COLAs, cost of living adjustments that the Northeast has had from for the last 2 years, just so that we could look at that data.
And the reason because the Northeast were more accurate for the cost of living increases necessary.
Correct.
For our communities.
Yeah, so the Northeast cost of living increase is more, is for the Northeast, and if you use the national is a lot lower than the Northeast COLA. There is another one, but that is more of a Boston COLA that is out there, but that is specific for Boston and the surrounding areas, but the Northeast kind of fits into that whole range.
Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont.
I do want to speak specifically about one department that we have looked at separately because of the alignment of is for Public Works. We looked, they actually gave us data for towns that were specific on road miles and alignment for their specific operations. So those towns are slightly different. Most of them are the same, but there's a couple additional ones based on road mileage and operation within that department. And so we went through everything, we aligned everything. Our matrix is specifically job title to job title. So what we ran into over and over again while putting this matrix together is if you look at it blind and you do job title to job title, you're going to have some employees that have taken on additional responsibilities, do more than their job title suggests, or that alignment, but we haven't changed that job title in the X whatever amount of time they've been here. Some people have been here for a long time, have had the same job title, have taken additional roles and responsibilities. The town has rewarded that person by increasing their salary. We just have not changed that job title. So when you do a job title to job title comparison, that job title for Kingston is outside of what that job title would be here. And that's where we think we've run into the issues, which is why we asked a lot of departments to give us job descriptions and all of that information so that we could kind of see where they are align in the matrix. So that is the one thing that I want to point out, is that when you do a job title to job title, you're going to see some of our positions are higher. It is mostly due to additional roles and responsibilities. And so the wage matrix made a decision to give you all the job titles in a matrix. So it's not for, the matrix is not just for our current positions, but for all surrounding positions. So I'll just use fire department, since the chief is sitting right here. In the data you're going to see, it doesn't just have the chief, it has the deputy chief range. It doesn't just have the positions, it has all of the surrounding positions, so that this matrix can be used for growth and opportunity for employees in the future. We went back and forth with this in the committee. It is difficult for us, and it should not be up to us, to state where your person's job title, where somebody's job title and responsibilities align. That should be up to the department manager and the select board. So we decided to give it to you, all of it, from all the surrounding towns, since we had gathered it. And then that, I think, is the best way to move forward, because there are positions that you'll see job title to job title, Kingston kind of sticks up. And it's not necessarily because they're not doing other roles and responsibilities. It is because we have employees that are very loyal and will do whatever it takes, and they don't question it. And I think we haven't changed their job title. So when you do an exercise like this, it shows up, but their job title should probably be something else than what their current job title is. And they haven't cared about that. They've been paid to their responsibility.
So, in summary, it skews the data because the job title doesn't match the job description as they perform it, and that the town has rewarded its long-term employees for having many talents that they bring to the table and share with the town. So their title might be clerk of whatever, but they're really more in a management, more responsible, more technologically sophisticated, educated, talented employee. So we may be they may be higher paid than someone else with that same title, but they have other skill sets that offset and mitigate that situation.
Correct.
And they've been rewarded accordingly, and I don't see us wanting to do anything different, to be honest with you.
Correct. And I think, what kind of took us getting all this information and meeting with certain departments and going through it is that we've we've increased the roles and responsibilities of these people, we've increased the salary, we've just never changed the title. And so if you did this blindly without going and talking to everyone, you would have just had the same data we had a year ago, and you'd have certain departments that were way above what people were getting paid, and you'd have certain departments that were below, and it didn't align. So we're trying to more align with the surrounding communities. That said, I mean, I know everyone here understands the issues that Joel was having hiring 2 police officers, and I think that his hiring salary that he had to offer these officers are in the 2025 range of what we've come up with, and I think that COLAs and all of this need to be looked at, and depending on the job market, this could be gone. And, you know, I know a lot of communities are having difficulty hiring police, fire, highway department, everything, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. So this is the guidance, but it's as up to date as we can get it, and that's where we kind of stand. Anyone else?
Questions, comments?
Thanks for all your time. What a timeline.
Yeah.
Stacy and Paula have done yeoman's job in this.
A lot of work.
So I just, so it is going, I mean, it is a lot of data. It has every single position that every single of those 21 towns has. I think it's a great tool to be able to align with, but there is one thing I do want to point out. We have 2 different demographics in the matrix. Currently, we have a demographic for the highway department, and we have a demographic for everyone else. And that is kind of where we aligned based on
In more ways than one.
and it's really because of if you look at some of our surrounding towns, they don't have a department, they don't manage it, they subcontract it out, they do all of their outside, they do it outside, so they have really a person who's just doing contracts and managing the work. We do a lot of our work internally. So with that, we made a determination. I mean, I spoke with Tom, but prior we worked with Bill and Lisa to really pull together what made sense for that department and keeping with the demographics, and then he collected lane miles and roles and responsibilities. And so we aligned with that. The only issue that some of these towns had was some of them were union, and so what if there was a union town, we cannot use those wages.
And also Kingston has a large landmass, so we have a lot of roads on top of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also skewed the data accordingly.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments at this time?
And we'll get technology.
Other than technology.
So can we make a plan that if January 8th, if we can't figure this out, can we have it on a piece of paper?
Yep,
January
6th.
Yep.
We're gonna need it January 8th.
Well, yes. Yeah, you will, yes.
But that's not to say that you couldn't get Tammy a copy before.
Well, I could get her section.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Yes.
And this will be on the agenda for next week?
Yes, it will be. Yeah. Should be under unfinished business. Thank you very much. I do know how much work you've done on this, you and Paula both. It's been incredible. So we're almost there. We're almost in that last stage to launch it.
Right, so I just want to make sure that after the presentation, we're going to no longer have a wage matrix, committee.
That's
So
correct.
that will be,
Done.
or to be done.
That's correct, there's no reason to, because we'll have reviewed it. How much more can we do? Let's put it
Well,
that way.
yeah, so,
We're done.
yeah. It
Not-
does with
but not
Col-
for 3
Northeast
years.
Cola. It just has to be updated by COLA. So every year, when the select board votes, recommends a COLA, that COLA will go into the matrix, and that will just update that.
Who's responsible for ensuring that wage matrix is updated every year with the COLA?
Your finance,
Right, I would say it would be finance HR. So
Yes.
that would need to be updated, I mean, the
Once the board
way
makes-
that the matrix is built out, all you have to do is put in, because I adjusted COLA, so all you have to do is put in a number at the top to say, this is the new COLA, and it goes boop.
And recommendation for review in 3 years, like how often is this data, just because we're having a COLA increase doesn't mean that the base numbers are still within line for the market. So do we review in 3 years or 2 years?
So I don't know that answer because like 6 months ago, I would have said every 3 years would have been fine. But with the information I have right now and the way that towns are trying to hire, and in order to hire, they're starting salaries and bonuses, and those plans are going kind of out of the matrix already. I think the matrix will need to be evaluated when you have an issue, when your starting salary is significantly lower than what's happening. I mean, monitoring it, Yeah.
There's no way you can do it every 3 years. I think that's too short a time frame because of all the work that goes into it. If you're really gonna restart from the beginning all over again. 5-year review would be, I think, ideal. And then you can go from there, every 5 years. I mean, you got a 7-year stretch on the matrix, I believe, maybe a little bit longer, but I don't know that we have to spend every 3 years going over this, because it took us a year and a half to get here. So time-wise, I don't see that as I agree with Stacy. If we're running into problems hiring, that's a whole nother issue. But unless that happens, I think we're good for a while.
but I also think that if you look at what just happened in Manchester, right? They started to finish the matrix, and then the private company went back and said, yeah, we need to start all over again because of the way that if our demographics changed significantly, that would probably trigger a reevaluation of looking at, so per capita, you'd have to look at those things. We should, I mean, as part of evaluating on an annual basis, our population, our per capita income, all of those demographics that we use to build this out and to align with those communities should be evaluated. If perchance we lost highway miles, the state decides to take over some of our roads, that would reduce our highway miles. That would trigger something. So there are all these factors that could trigger a reevaluation as part of that. But it's difficult because, I mean, we got all the way to like the fall and then we said, okay, let's bring it up with COLA because we're using 2022 and 2023 data. And so let's bring it up using COLA. And so I think all of those factors are there and have to be evaluated and have to be monitored, and it should be part of the annual review of the town. My guess would be as you're going through and evaluating, getting ready for the budget season, you should be looking to see whether those demographics have changed and whether or not we need to evaluate certain groups. And it could be one group or it could be multiple groups. but, I mean, those are factors. If you add responsibility to a group, that's all.
Right, because this data will be outdated very quickly if we don't keep on top of it, and then it's going to take another year and a half to redo it, as opposed to, so I'm just going to recommend for the next meeting, because that's when the full-blown discussion is, that if you can just provide a list of what you think should be looked at on an annual basis for review, just so we have something to go by.
I'm not necessarily going to agree with that, only because of the time involved. We're limited but why we can do. 1 year's change in status is not going to affect anything.
But it will affect the second year and the third year and the fourth year. If we're not working with accurate data every year, it affects the out years.
Well, let's charge the budget director chair with that responsibility. I'm not saying, I'm not.
My term up.
I know. I mean, I don't know who's.
Say you, I said the chair.
I don't know whose responsibility. I just think there has to be a minimal review every single year, other than just adding COLA to it.
I don't disagree. I think as you're getting ready to evaluate that, I look at it as this wage. So I'm just going to compare this to how I was kind of thinking it when you asked the question. We have a capital improvements plan. I look at the wage matrix as the same thing, that it should be evaluated for employees. It should be a long-term. There should be a plan, right? So no different than if there's a warrant article going in that's going to be for 2 additional full-time fire people. There should be a plan, and we need to support that, and that should all be part of the wage
discussion.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So next week, as part of the ending of the wage matrix committee, there should be a recommendation for how and what we look at annually to make sure this data remains relevant, or we're going to look at the same thing in 5, or we're just going to quickly go off of the wage matrix and hire outside of it, and then it becomes irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, no different than how it all happened to get to us to this point. That's fine.
We just don't want to wait 35 years like the last time.
Yeah, I know.
35 years since we've done it. Yeah, I know, it's a long time ago, when we had one.
But, so I can put that together. I can put down the recommendations and how, and look at that. And we do have help from other sources to help with us.
Great, thank you, Stacy. Any other questions or comments on the matrix until next week? All right, our next item is the review of the revised employee manual. I don't believe there was any issues, except someone questioned the calculation of vacation time, but we've been doing that for a number of years, and I don't know that we need to change that, and that has been vetted by the attorney, because the whole manual was vetted accordingly. So we do need to approve it so that it can be disseminated.
Well, and I mean, that comment was from me. I don't agree that all vacation should be front-loaded at the beginning, because it becomes problematic then if somebody leaves early on. My personal experience has been that vacation time is accrued just like sick time is accrued on a monthly basis, or whatever the increment is. I just think it's the appropriate way to do it, as opposed to front-loading it right at the beginning of the year. But I know that folks don't agree with that, but that's my position. And I just wanted that stated before we went ahead and put this out there.
Thank you. Tammy, did you?
Sorry, I've been here for 20 years. I've never heard of it biting the town. That we've always done it this way, and I've never heard of it being an issue. The only time we had an issue was with comp pay, that someone had to be paid out for that comp pay because no one was tracking how much had been accumulated, and now we have a plan in place to rectify that. But if you think about it, I was hired November 3rd at the police department. So a year from then, I get 2 weeks vacation. Well, November 3rd, November and December is budget season, everyone's trying to take their vacation. It's not practical for me to be able to take 2 weeks vacation, so they let me take a week in the summer. If I had left, I would have had to pay that or take it out of my last check. Like I said, it's worked, it's always has worked. I think if we run into a problem, well, then you make an amendment to the manual, but I have not seen it be a problem, so.
And a few years ago, when we first started reviewing the employee manual, we had talked about going into earned time, and therefore you would.
I would still like to revisit that at some point.
I know, and I would.
And a
agree
sick
with you.
bank, but
In a sick bag, I totally agree, but there's so many other issues on the table. We needed to update the manual was the first, the major piece of it, and we've done that. So now, that's not to say we're not gonna go back within the next couple of years and look at earned time, because that would address your issue clearly, right from day one. Because employees are accumulating vacation time from day one, in effect, although we're not necessarily paying it out. The way it's done, they can do 1 week within the first 6 months. The town is really not liable for getting, for abuse with the compensation on the, it's not like they're gonna take 2 weeks ahead of time. They would need a special permission by the board for special circumstances to do that. I would assume that. But, so because the town is not out of pocket on a 1 week max within 6 months, I don't see it adversely affecting the community. But earned time would rectify that on a number of levels. Yes.
Thank you for the opinions and explanations. I still have mine. I still don't agree with it. However, I'm not going to withhold my vote to, for releasing it. I just think that there's a better way to do it, and we should be doing it a different way. That's all.
Any other comments? Entertain a motion to approve the launch, the employee handbook.
Motion to launch.
And a second? Second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. Good job, good job. So we can get that released.
I will be updating the the cover and the table of contents, and we'll be sending it out today and tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. Public comment number 1. Any public comment at this time? Pam, Lisa, no? Okay. Unfinished business. Draft warrant for review. Oh. You can stay if you'd like. You can go if you'd like. Do you want? Was there something? Of course you can stay. We're going to be rocking and rolling through a few more of these. The draft warrant for review. Were there any comments? That's just it's not the final, but were there any comments or questions on that? And thank you, Susan, for dating it, because that really helps.
Yep. So there's a note at the bottom. Are we still expecting one from Vision Energy?
I can't imagine. I didn't think we were going to get one this year, to be honest with you.
They were hoping to, I believe. Maybe you could ask Rick, but the last I heard, they were trying to get there because they're trying to assess the size of the array that they can put on there. I think
but
that's
I don't know
what.
that we're going to be ready to make a decision on that right now.
Right.
Within a week.
It's
to be
getting
very
late.
honest with you.
It's getting late now, so.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening.
And then if we don't get anything for Article 20, that won't be on there, clearly. Right, okay.
But we do, I mean, Susan, were you able, did you get the, I don't know if the answer, on the salaries for the land use?
We still need to plug those in. I haven't, no. Were you able to look into those? They'll be different from last year, in other words, so.
I need to know what you guys want to pay that person, and also for the building department administrative assistant. I haven't been given any information.
I thought the pay level was predetermined under an agreement with that individual last year, that Yes. It was agreed that under the increased hours, under the current, it was X dollars, and that when it became full-time, it would revert.
For building department administrative assistant, I don't know where these numbers came
Oh.
from.
Wouldn't we get that out of a wage matrix? Would those positions be in the wage matrix?
Yes,
Okay. So,
but we have to go back to what we talked about last year, because we made a commitment.
Not for the land use, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I will update the numbers for that. But for the building department administrative assistant position, I don't know where this number came from.
Where are we looking?
That's number 16.
I have X's on.
I think that's what was in there for last time. I didn't change anything. If it's in red, it's not correct because it needs to be updated, but we had it in the warrant last year.
So check with the wage matrix for sure, and with Pedro. Okay, make sure that number is accurate.
And then talking with Chief Pellerin, we are going to take out, my copy has X's, so I don't know what article it is, but we're gonna combine, we're taking out the one, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of X for the fire apparatus, and we're gonna make
Where are we?
one under,
What article number?
I don't know, I have X's.
Was the article number?
Here.
Yeah, I have X's.
14, maybe?
No, 12,
It's 12, I think.
12. Article 12 is the
25,000.
Yep, for him,
fire apparatus.
that, we're getting rid of that.
You taking that out?
Yep, and number, I guess it would be 14, we're going to combine it into one, saying we're going to, ask to expend, I believe we think it's like 750,000, to purchase the new tank, and we're asking to raise 50,000.
Okay, so you gotta reword number 14.
Right, that's what we
Yeah, I'm gonna
decided,
need-
and we haven't.
Because right now, it's just withdrawal from the replacement, the capital reserve fund.
no, it says that 14 is also to raise and appropriate a sum and then to withdraw. So you're gonna keep it that way. You're gonna raise and appropriate
Yes,
50,000.
we're redoing,
And then withdraw how much?
750.
Okay.
we
So
think it's seven, we don't
So it's the
have,
same number, right? You're raising it, but you're taking it out of the fund, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay, I thought you were saying 50,000 was coming
So
from somewhere else.
the problem is that there's $709,000 in that account right now, capital reserve for fire apparatus replacement. The tanker, and that's probably one of the cheapest tankers we can get, is $750,000. So there's not enough in that account to cover it. So we have to raise and appropriate some anyway, but I don't want to bring that account down to zero. So if I can keep it, so what I'm looking to do is raise and appropriate $50,000, which will give it by that time with interest, probably 760,000.
Yeah.
Take out 750, and then leave the $9,000 or $10,000 in there.
Start accumulating for the
Yeah.
next one.
So basically, you're making that one article
Yes.
to raise the 50,000 and also and then take out whatever is
Yeah.
left.
You'll give that to Susan.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yep,
Chief, you're gonna come up with a number for 13?
we have that.
You have that already?
Yep.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
That's 149, I'll update that.
I was just curious. Yeah.
Okay. So we should have that for next Monday. Okay, excellent. Or Susan, earlier than that, so she can get it to us. Excellent. Any other comments or questions on the warrant?
Can the budget committee get that, copies of all the ones for financial implications
Yep, I'll
for?
send you the latest.
Okay, thank you, because we'll be reviewing them on January
So
8th.
you might as well wait till we get the two from,
We'll get the numbers together and so
Yeah,
that
and
it's
then send it-
fairly
when
final.
you send it out to the board, send it out to Stacy as well.
Thank you.
She can get it to her committee, because yours is Wednesday, so we'll have it together.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. All right, any other comments on the warrant, draft warrant? Okay, update on state land lease info only, Susan?
I did reach out to them because we didn't, we signed it, I sent it to the state, we hadn't gotten it back, and I know the deadline is, it's expiring. So I was a little concerned, but I did talk to Patrick Bell, who's in charge of it, he actually wrote that lease, he said it's in front of the Attorney General, I think. But he said there's really no problem with it, don't worry about it. If we have to worry, he'll call us, but he just didn't have it back from them with signatures yet.
Any questions? Okay, the highway buildings and grounds position, we need wage range for the job posting, is that correct?
I've got an old copy of my agenda. I think Glenn, that came from Glenn. Was it discussing the pay range for?
For the proposed new position.
Okay. I
We'll change the
did, whether
title.
we were gonna post it. Did we change the title? Yeah,
Yeah, we changed the title
yeah.
Right, and
and the job description.
I requested this to be on here, not for the posting, because I know the posting doesn't list the wage.
Okay.
But I wanted at least to have some sense of when we start getting inquiries from people, they're gonna wanna know what the range is, and that needs to be discussed and established here at this board. So if we don't do it now, we need to do it sometime before we start.
Before Monday, or next Monday.
Before we start
Do we
talking.
have that spread, Paul?
to people.
We have
Yes,
that? I mean,
I have that.
We have that.
we have it. What do you have?
Yep, would you like to
Tell us the
know?
numbers.
Yep, so the median is 104. 104. And then the maximum is 118. That does not include Kingston. The maximum, and then the average is 105, 732.84.
Say that again.
The average is 105, 732.84.
What is the job title for that? Those numbers.
Highway building and grounds.
Well,
What
however,
position are you looking at to get that?
if it's what I'm anticipating, it's a DPW director, which is a much higher level position than we're recruiting for. And those numbers, I believe, are higher than they should be.
Correct. DPW.
Correct, DPW director.
Yeah, we're not.
We changed that. So that means those numbers are gonna change.
For a road agent?
Well, it's more
Well, and I
than,
guess that's,
yeah.
It's more than road agent. That's why the title says highway buildings and grounds.
so I have, the road agent average is 91,963. So in, right, so it's in between those two. So it's in between the,
That's what the average is.
yeah, I'll give you the average of the averages.
Can we talk a second about the posting? I saw the posting, and it's not what we approved, so I don't know what the discrepancy was
How
there.
could it not be what we approved?
Well, because what was posted on our website, it's missing bullets than what was presented to us for approval for posting.
It was the exact thing I gave you. I took that same Word document and put it on.
This one?
Yes, I took exactly what I gave you.
Okay, but what's posted is not what this is. There's stuff missing, so that would be,
Well, why don't you check the posting, Paula, before we go any further?
Yeah.
We need
What
to
is
check-
missing?
everything highlighted. A lot, including some of the requirements.
Maybe it was a cut and paste issue or something.
Paula, why don't you check it out and report back to us next Monday? How's that?
Okay.
Okay? Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine. It changes the feel of the job, what's posted, changes, so we might get different responses to it.
I understand, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I
Yeah.
do. So let's have her check it out, and we'll go from there. Okay? Next, we move on to new business. The assessing contract, Susan.
Yes, I got call Friday morning from Mary Beth Walker, who's the president, I believe, of Corcoran Consulting. She's not the owner. But anyway, just saying, for whatever reason internally there, she is leaving that company, and our assigned assessor, Katie, has also taken a different job. So that's kind of, and I got the official letter in an email over the weekend, so I added that to your packet. So I tried to follow up with what she had told me, trying to figure out what to do, because we only bid this about a year ago. Our assigned assessor, Katie, is actually going to one of the companies that bid before, which is Whitney Consulting. And my thought process is, if you're gonna go back and look at those other companies again, that might be one idea to keep continuity, because she could be assigned to Kingston. Anyway, I put down all the information, the original bids. The Corcoran has given us 90-day notice per our contract, so we have a little time. I'm not sure if you want to go back out for a full bid. It would eat up a lot of that time that we have.
Why are they terminating the contract?
That's something internally with Corcoran, and I'm not sure what's going on, but, so.
It's nothing to do with us.
It's not us, no, it's not us. It was something that happened on their end, so they had to give us the 90 days.
Does this mean if we hire a new assessing company, they gotta reassess the whole town? So we start all over
No,
again?
they'd be picking up where Corcoran left off. They're in year 1 of the 5-year cycle.
Okay.
So, and Katie, who's been working on it, will be assigned to us?
Yes, I
If
did
we stay
confirm
with-
that.
if we
I
go with
called,
Whitney?
yep, I called that
That's even more
company.
important.
The reason I was asking about that is if we paid $253,000, right, and had a company come in to assess our town, now we're paying another company $267,000 for a town that's already been assessed. That's why I was just curious. So,
We would have to work it out so that it's a 4-year contract picking up on the work that's done.
Right, a 4-year, not including a complete assessment.
that's what,
Right, so
when I see
like
the
the
numbers, I'm
maintenance.
just trying to think that.
Yeah.
And you should coordinate with that with Paula, because.
Oh, yeah, I just got this information. I did figure out which way you want to go, and then it's going to involve a contract from them, which has to be reviewed by us and also by DRA. Any assessing contract goes to DRA. So it's not any done deal, but it's just, do you want to go for bids, or do you want to go back to our bid list?
Do we have to go for new bids?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. So I think it's reasonable. What we have in Susan's memo here is the listing of the bids that were done when we went out for the last time. We chose the low bid, which was Corcoran at $253.
Yeah.
The next lowest was Municipal Resources. Whitney was third at $267. There isn't a huge dollar difference between the second and third place.
Right.
Right.
And the fact that our current assessing person would continue with us, I think is a huge benefit. So we're not going to be having a person that is starting a whole learning curve all over again.
Totally agree.
Would it be unethical to reach out to that company to talk to them about that before we made that decision? Find out if we could,
Talk to them.
I did.
Susan
to
has done
Whitney.
that.
Yeah.
I did, because I wanted to before we could even decide to verify that they would assign her to us, and he said they would. He also said he would honor his former proposal amount.
He'd honor the
The proposal he put in a year ago.
right, right.
It's a no-brainer. I
Well,
agree.
in my mind, it's a no-brainer to go that direction, for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the continuity of the personnel.
Right, that's huge.
she doesn't have to clean out her desk.
Exactly.
Among
So-
other things.
So if between Susan and Paula, the contract issue can be resolved, and we're going to need a correct number for the budget committee,
Correct.
which is why we want to get this quickly.
I've got a number from Whitney, but we would want to verify that. When
Work with Paula on that, please.
Yeah, we do need a slight increase.
Do I have a motion?
Well, you can take what I just said and put it into a motion.
What'd you just say?
Okay,
that we move to,
that we move forward with establishing a new contract with Whitney Consulting Group LLC as our assessor. Contract details to be worked out between the Select Board's Administrator and Finance Director, and any dollar adjustment that we need to be getting into the budget be done by this week. Because we need it for next, we need it for the 8th.
by Monday, right? But by the 8th.
By the 8th.
Yes.
The budget needs to go to Budget Committee on Friday, so then we can discuss it on.
Okay, so we need
We can work it out today,
Stacy
probably.
by this Friday.
Yes, please.
Okay. We need a second?
Okay, second? Second. Further discussion?
Yeah. And it's, just to clarify, it's with the understanding that Whitney Consulting has communicated to Susan that they're willing to hold their bid price from
The original one
the
from
original
last
one,
year,
and
Assign.
that they will be assigning our current assessor person to us, and that's Mary Beth?
no.
No,
That's Katie.
Katie Walker.
Yeah. Okay, and that was seconded by Lori. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Susan, thanks for doing all that legwork and having all the information for us so we could make a decision.
You're welcome.
One item that's not on there, we have plans from HDC, the planning board, that's going before them on the 20th, I think, or 21st, regarding the seminary property. They've been through a hearing at HDC. It is online. Please, please, please take a look at it, because we're asked to comment on that proposal, and would like to do that. Please schedule that for next Monday night, Susan. But I would like the board as a whole to make comment, so that we can give a collective comment to the planning board next week.
Right, and just so that we're all cognizant of the 91A issue, we shouldn't be discussing that or deliberating it by email. So if there are comments, maybe we should individually send them to Susan, and she can,
Or they can send it to me,
Or
because
to
I'm the
you.
liaison to the planning board.
okay, but just to you.
Yeah,
And then you can tabulate, you can,
they can do me and Susan, let's put it that way, if you want, but yes.
okay,
Then I have a consensus of what the board wants to do, and can write on behalf of the board,
yes,
okay?
yep.
That'd be great. We have a request to tap maple syrup on the plains from Bob Lumna. He's done this for a number of years. We are again going to be tapping various Kingston maple trees to benefit local charities, and we have your permission to tap some of your trees as we did last year. Please confirm, and it's signed Bob Lumna. I have a motion,
I make a motion to approve
his request.
the request to tap the plains trees for maple syrup.
Second,
Second.
further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, unanimous.
It's amazing what he does as far as the
I know,
donations.
I
He
know.
gives away so much, and it's a
But-
lot of work.
It's good stuff, too.
It is, and it's good work,
stuff.
but, oof.
The next item is.
Just
oh,
if we can, just that and Tom isn't here, but if there are any of the trees that are perhaps stressed, maybe we don't want them tapped, and maybe they could work with DPW to make sure that,
Could you convey that to Bob, Susan? Yes. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, next item, is the encumbrance list. You all have it, copy in front of you. Seems like a lot, but there was money from the grant that has, the Poets Grant that hasn't been expended yet.
Right, that's a big chunk.
That's a big chunk, that was $216,000. The total amount is $286,235.43.
And the lot,
So the additional is $2,215 for lights for the side-by-side at the fire department that we just got this morning. So the new balance is $288,450.43.
What was the single
200.
total for that again, 2,000 what?
288. Go ahead.
$115, that's the Virgin Pay.
Thanks.
288,215. Okay.
And that's the Virgin Pay to sign.
Oh, this one, okay. All right.
Comments, questions, concerns?
Just a comment that, going back to the grant for the water treatment systems, there's a lot being carried over because it took a while to get that whole program underway, but it's now fully underway, and a good portion of that is going to end up being expended very early in 2025.
First quarter is my guess, because most of them are
Right,
well
and,
into progress.
and all the installations are either underway or scheduled, and the what will be left in there to take out through the year is the maintenance amount for that first year of maintenance, and a little bit of admin that we get out of it.
Okay. All right, would you make a motion to that effect for the 288, 215.63?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Ayes have it, motion carries unanimous.
Ellie, not to interrupt you, you skipped over public comment too,
Oh, I'm sorry.
just in case something comes up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Public comment to anybody? Okay,
Thank you, sorry about that.
that's all right, no problem.
Ellie, I have two things for board business.
I have one.
And you have one, okay. I'm just waiting on confirmation from Ryan from WaterTex, but all of the buildings that he installed are good to go, except for the firehouse. They're working on a piece of equipment for the pre-treatment equipment. But once he provides confirmation, we should probably issue some sort of statement saying all of the, minus the museum, of course, that the water's potable in all of the buildings, and to take down any signs that say non-potable.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Um,
Any comments on that?
Well, no, I think it's good. I mean, we've spent this money now to make sure that our public buildings have drinkable water, and we ought to let people know that, and certainly take down the signs that tell them that it's not potable.
So the only building that will have signs will be the museum?
Yes.
Correct. Yep.
And,
It's just, I just want to talk about the collection center for 1 second, because we've talked a lot about it in the last few meetings regarding the contracts and the viability of it. So to date, the select boards approved the lease renewal of our current location. We've approved discontinuing curbside recycling with the condition of no warrant article was needed and a feasibility study is accomplished.
we voted to, at the end of the.
Yes, at the end of the contract, yeah, this is right, yes. We approved a warrant article for the revolving fund. We approved, clearly it has to go to town meeting. And we increased the budget for the committee for outreach. So those are the things that the select board has done. I also want to state I appreciate all the work Chuck and Mark put into researching the prospective companies, and for the work Chuck did in writing the draft RFQ, coming up with a timeline, and relaying a sense of urgency. And I also want to thank Pam Brown for putting forth a motion at the last budget meeting to add money for a project leader. And although I don't negate the need for a full-time person, I don't agree that that time is now. So I want to take a few minutes and talk about what the committee is currently working on. Currently, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna interrupt you.
Yeah.
I got an email from Chuck that has an updated, request for quote proposal. That I have not really read yet, and I'd like to read it and disseminate it to all of you in preparation for, and to discuss that next Monday. The other thing I want to do is I want to do some numbers check on the savings, so that if community members say, well, you know, are we saving money by not going to curbside
Right.
pickup? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
But I'd like to have some numbers
Right.
to deal with that.
Sure.
And.
So Chuck Margosian, that's who you're talking, that
that's
Chuck,
correct.
okay, yep,
Yes, not
okay,
Chuck Hart,
yeah, okay,
No, it was Chuck Margot.
Okay.
He sent it to me this weekend, but I did not.
Okay.
I looked at it, but I didn't read it.
okay,
And I want you all to read it so that you're comfortable with what he's suggesting. It may not be the right way to go, but the more information you have, all of us have.
okay,
And it really focuses on the collection center too, because what we do is, I'm hopeful it works.
right,
I'm definitely hopeful it
Yeah.
works, and I wanna be sure we get up on the right foot with it.
okay, so part of the committee's charter was to also look at, the new contract or an RFQ, so can we get that to the committee to look at and not just the select board?
Sure.
Okay,
I'll get it to you.
Okay.
If not today, tomorrow for sure.
perfect, perfect.
And you can pass it on.
Okay, so I just wanted to talk for a minute, because we do agree that we need somebody to run it, but not right now, right? And I want to talk about what the committee's been working on, something that a project lead would be doing. So currently, we're working on updating the permit with DES. Our permit is limited in what we can collect there, just for glass and cardboard. So we want to increase that, thinking forward, right? That we want to include plastics, because that's probably something that we will take. So we want to get everything in the permit, so we don't have to keep redoing it, because it's a very cumbersome process. So we're working on that. We're working with the Northeast Resource Recovery Association to gather information on balers and dumpsters and all of the equipment that we would need. We're gathering points of contact for other sites. There's a few that have opened recently, and I say recently, that's a kind of relative term, 5 to 10 years, right? To try to see what the pitfalls are. We're researching grant opportunities. We will be working on identifying markets for recyclables, because if we don't have a market to sell, then what's the point in opening the collection center? Once we kind of get a feel for capacity, we need to redesign the state land. There's been a lot of talk that it's not big enough, it's just not utilized properly. So working with the Director of Public Works or Building, Grounds, and Highway to remove all of the broken vehicles and other equipment. We need to get those out of there and just clean up the land, so then we can, yeah, it's all our stuff. Anything on that property is ours, except for the salt shed and the building. Everything else is ours. So once we clean it up, we can redesign it for better flow, for increased traffic, and then increased recyclables, and then determine what kind of dumpsters we need. So we have to redesign.
You get a budget?
We don't, and we're getting to that. We're going to identifying and gathering statistical data that we'll report quarterly, begin the process of identifying capital improvements. So we need to figure out, for both the state land and fairgrounds, we want to do both, what it will cost for electricity, for paving, for all of the things that we need. We'll identify the cost and then come up with the budget. Begin the process of cleaning up the land. Several of our committee members are signed up for DES-sponsored classes, some in January and then some in March. So that's just the start of that we're already working on.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is you're developing a business.
Yeah, we are. We absolutely are.
So are you all doing the revenue side of that?
We will, yes. Once we can get, and that, you can project out, but because it's a commodities market, it's tough. But we will once we can identify markets, we'll be able to start projecting revenue. But our statistical data now will start helping us understand that too.
Okay, 'cause
So
it may not be, it may take a few months.
well, absolutely. I don't think the goal is to have this be a huge money-making operation, right? But we do need to look at keeping in mind the amount of money that we spend for curbside recycling always has to be taken into account for how much money it would cost to operate a center. Because currently, if it's $250,000 a year for curbside recycling, and we don't have that debit anymore, we would have,
But you're still gonna have an increase on your solid waste, so it's not.
Of course,
250.
absolutely.
But I don't want it to be a money pit.
No, it's, right, so, understand, so we're.
People don't buy in.
Right, we're starting this process, and I think my point in all of this is that we appreciate all of the stuff that Chuck mentioned in his last public comment, and the need to get this done, but I don't think we need a project lead to do that, because the committee's already working on it, okay? And so just a rough timeline, so, and then clearly this is up for discussion. So we have until the end of 2025 really to do a really good feasibility study with a project plan, a business case, whatever you want to call it, right? Because that would allow for any warrant articles for March of 26. And then it will help us determine the content of the RFQ, right? If we determine we just can't do it, right? Then we know the RFQ has to be for recycling and solid waste, or a hybrid. We then have that time to determine.
I'm okay. I'll tell you right now, I am not in favor of waiting.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
All right.
Okay. So February to March of 26 is when we need to have the RFQ draft done, because releasing it would be May of 26 to award for July 1st of 26, which is 18 months before contract execution.
Well, you had 2026 in there. I don't agree with your dates as you just stated, because you had a year and a half and a year and a half.
Yeah, we don't need to release an RFQ until
I think we need to do the RFQ.
26.
No, I disagree. I think we have to do it next year.
I think we should listen to what the companies are telling us, and they don't want to bid on something 2.5 years out. They want it 18 months.
But Chuck said it two different things.
Chuck said the same thing. He said award of July of 26.
The awarding, yes, but not the dissemination of the quote.
So we'll okay.
All right, and let me tell you why I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be next year.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna put it out there. We're gonna vet it first with attorneys.
Yeah.
We're gonna vet it first.
Yeah.
And then say we start out strictly with the solid waste.
Yep.
Okay? Gonna vet it with the attorneys and have it back to June 1st. You're gonna send it out at that point. You're gonna have 90 days to get some feedback. According to what I learned from Chuck, you're gonna still need an opportunity to meet with the vendors, to tweak the contract, and meet some of their needs, because they may not like what we put in the request for a quote. And if we change it in any way, it then has to go back out again. So now you're getting into 2026. They need it awarded by June of 26.
July 1st of 26.
July 26.
Yep.
Gives them a year
That's
and a
18
half.
months.
Yeah, it gives them a year and a half to order the trucks and or equipment as necessary. For
Right.
the-
Right.
So we're really not off base by much at all. I
Right.
just think the first one needs to go out this year, because I anticipate that we're gonna have to get together with the vendors, the bidding vendors.
Sure.
Massage it again,
Yeah.
send it back to attorney for bidding, and then post it again. That's why I think we need that.
So that's the point of negotiation that we'll continue to talk about.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great.
Okay,
So,
I agree with
so
you
we'll
there.
continue to have that part of the conversation. But this really came up because the last couple meetings, because of Chuck and then Pam bringing up at the budget committee. So if we were going to put money in for a project lead, we needed to do that now. But I don't think we need to do that, because the committee is working on all of the points that a dedicated person would do. So I think also just wanted everybody to know the committee's not just manning the collection center every 2 weeks, we're actually doing stuff. And we're doing a lot to figure this out. So I think
We want to see a budget from you guys, though.
well, we're not gonna know a budget, Ellie, until we start gathering data. How can we submit a budget?
You're using staff, employees.
So we need to do research before we can submit a business plan.
All right, I get it.
And the quarterly stats are gonna have the numbers that we're spending on labor as well as any revenue. So we can't do a business plan now because we have way too many questions unanswered. So we have to do a lot of research. So it would be towards the end of 2025 before you're gonna see something that says, here's what we need to spend, here's what it's gonna cost, here's projected revenue. I mean, we need time, and a project lead would do the same thing.
So we still have an agenda item for next week, because I'm going to send out the request for quotes, so you can take a look at that, and look at our options. And because I do want to send it to the attorney, and I need my colleague's permission to do that. I'm not going to do it on my own, obviously.
Right.
But I think we need to at least vet that request for quotes.
Okay.
For the solid waste only. But I want you to have the information that Chuck shared with me, so that you all can make a more informed decision. Send it to the committee, to the budget committee if you need to, but certainly your committee, the solid waste committee.
Great.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thanks for indulging me.
Not a problem, I'm happy to do that, not a problem.
Glenn, did you have something?
Yes, Glenn had one item.
I did, and it's actually returning to what I think was a piece of unfinished business, and I wanted to have us establish a salary range for the public works person for hire. I mean, we talked about the numbers that Stacy gave us for DPW director, then we talked about, well, maybe because it's not a DPW director per se,
It sounds like when you said 91 to 104, because it's a highway, road, but highway, things.
Right, so if I did the calculation of combining the average of the road agent and the DPW director, which gets us a range of 95,000 to 98,000.
95 to 98?
Yep.
all right.
Did you have a low in that? I would assume a lower number.
Well, there is, so
Well,
the problem is,
You're giving averages and midpoints.
yeah,
I'm going to throw something out for the board to think about, and for you, Stacy, to think about too. And granted, I was not part of the wage matrix, but I did do a little background work on my own. I found some towns that had similar positions, and I'd like to propose a range of 80 to 100 with a starting salary normally not to exceed 90, the midpoint. Now that, of course, is discretionary based on qualifications and so forth, but
For her reference and her research, I think we owe it to her to tell what town to talk to, so she can compare those towns to our town. So if you could relay that to her, she may be able to use that information to help with her
yeah.
matrix, right?
Yeah, because we didn't just, and I think that's a great point, because we do have towns that we didn't include because the demographics or roles and responsibilities. So I don't know if you guys are going in non-public, but I can sit down with you real quick and show you.
Okay, so that should be another agenda item for next week, Susan. So, because we need to nail it, make a decision to move forward on that. Okay, item next.
The couple of things. Well, we have a couple of things to sign in the orange folder.
Yeah.
One of which is a POET agreement, and I noticed that's
The watershed,
right.
yeah.
That we need to do too. But
Yeah.
on the POET agreement, Susan, on page, they don't have page numbers. Under the responsibilities of the owner, it's letter I. It says, pay the ordinary costs for POET systems such as salt replacement, and they scratched out salt replacement.
They wanted that taken, they don't use salt in these systems, so that doesn't need to be in there, and the person that came in asked me,
Oh, okay,
take that
there's no salt in the system?
yeah, right, so it shouldn't
That
have
answers
been in
that
there to
question.
start, yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
The other item is the watershed.
right.
Can I say something really quick?
Sure.
I checked what I posted to what you gave me. This was like the first version. We had two, which we shortened because I was told it was too long for the job ad. And the one that I posted is the shortened one, and in it, we did not have, that they need to obtain a CDL, and I had already corrected these things.
The one you posted, the one was not.
Yes.
Well,
You never signed anything.
Yeah, we didn't sign
It was
anything.
the shorter version, because I was told this was too long for a job ad.
Yes.
And we have to also remember that it refers anybody to look at the job description, which is very extensive. That is posted as well.
so that was the last copy that was given to us, but, so what we're saying is whoever that position is, they don't have to have a CDL? Why would we take, why wouldn't they have to have a CDL?
Because they don't usually drive the trucks.
That might open up availability better.
But what happens if they do have to drive? Why would we not have why would we not have our highway person in charge of highway not be able to drive the equipment? That doesn't make any sense.
I see a hand raised in the audience. Lisa, did you want to comment? Come on down.
So when Phil was hired, he didn't have a CDL. One of the first things I did when I came here, Kingston is now registered with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association. Kingston is now a training center, so we can train our own employees to get their CDL. We don't have to send them out. Phil came here, didn't have his CDL, achieved his CDL through our process. So we can do the same with someone that's hired. So they don't necessarily have to have their CDL upon being hired. It's up to the board to decide if you want them to have it or give them a time frame to achieve that within a certain amount of employment.
Well, because it said have it or be able to obtain it. So it's,
The new copy didn't have that on it.
well, that's what I'm saying. Why would we not have that as a requirement for the person in charge of highway not being able to drive the equipment?
Is the CDL the only thing that will hold the question about? On that, on what you
Well,
need to all
yeah, no, she provided clarification, and that was the last copy.
Maybe we can address it in non-public.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you for your comments, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. It's no sorry there. That was good. That was helpful.
No, sorry.
No sorry needed.
No crying in the room.
No.
Nope.
Okay, but we do need to talk about the board members' appointments to the Watershed Advisory Committee.
We do.
We do.
I
Go ahead.
I checked with NHMA Legal Services. There's a copy of the full correspondence that I had with them. In your packet, I asked Susan to include it. And the bottom line is that if members of the public want to be appointed to a committee, they request it, just like was done here for the Watershed Committee. There are two members here who also happen to be members of the Select Board, and the caution from council was that if there were more than two on more than two Select Board members on any committee, that then presents a quorum of the Select Board, and that then becomes a problem because you have to all those meetings have to be published, noticed as Select Board meetings. But the way and if any of you read his guidance differently, that's, let me know, but I didn't see any reason why, unless the town had a conflict of interest policy, which was something that he mentioned in his guidance. And I don't know if we do.
So I have a couple quick questions for me, Glenn. First of all, you're gonna also look into how many other employees of this town that were elected have been appointed to another position. There's an appointment and an advisory board, two different things, right? An advisory board, you can't vote. You're an advisor to that committee, but an appointed is different. So have we ever had in Kingston an elected position be appointed to a board in the history of Kingston? There's a big difference, and I don't believe you're gonna find that we've ever had that.
Isn't
That was my question.
Stacy elected to budget?
Is she appointed?
She's elected.
And is she appointed to another committee?
Wage matrix,
And she's appointed to that?
I believe so.
A liaison or advisor?
Liaison from budget?
A liaison. So it's different, it's a voting situation,
Okay,
right?
that's just the
So
one
that's-
thing that
that's-
keeps in mind.
So just the wage matrix, there was never any appointments, so.
Yeah, it's an
it
appointed
kinda was
position.
weird.
It was supposed to be
But
two from
can I
budget,
just,
two
I
from,
just want to say, I was elected to budget committee and then appointed a supervisor of the checklist.
There you go.
And it was only until until the next election.
It's okay, Pedro, thanks for sticking in there all this time.
I'm just thinking about, this is, so basically right now, this is gonna be setting, going forward, this is gonna be continued to other practices. So if somebody gets elected, they can be appointed to another committee. There's just a difference on that line.
We had that on the solid waste committee, though.
Technically, I was never appointed. There's not an appointment letter for the select board rep.
Okay, but you vote on the committee.
Yes, because there's 7 members and the select board is one of them, and then director of public works also is, but they're not appointed. So the only appointments are like the community members.
So what's the difference between an advisory and an appointment? It's like, if you went on the committee as an advisory versus an appointed position.
I think comes down to voting membership,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's I don't know, I haven't seen the thing. I don't know if it's an advisory committee or, I mean, we don't have our own budget or anything like that. So we have to go to the select board for budget stuff.
Stacy, you had your hand up?
Kingston Days Committee had several elected officials on that,
Yeah.
And they're appointed?
and they're appointed.
As did the energy, what we used to be the solar committee.
That was my question.
So there are
There's precedent.
Okay.
advisory committees that we.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get at, because you're thinking about going forward, right? One thing Kingston has always had an issue with is like continuity. Like, things are always treated differently.
Right.
Right? So we're trying to be consistent in what we do is practice. That's the only reason I'm trying to inquire what other things have done like that. Because this is like, it would be setting precedent going forward.
Right.
And that's all I was asking.
Okay, yeah, because that was like, I don't know if there was a concern or you're just worried about moving forward consistency.
To be consistent.
Okay.
That's all,
Okay.
and that's why I was asking if there's any other people that have done this before.
Yeah.
The two things.
Right.
That's all I was asking.
Yes.
And then, there you go.
Boards, not the select board, because usually, and this is from NHMA, with the select board officials, the only committees that they have voting rights on are budget, planning, and zoning.
We don't have,
I meant, not zoning, HTC.
HTC.
The others,
And
they're
and
just
Heri- and Her-
advisory.
and Heritage Commission.
And, yeah, and the rest, they're just advisory, they're not supposed to be voting, they're just supposed to.
But we haven't done that, we've had them as voting members. We haven't done that. So we could
That was
be
my only
questioned,
inquiry.
we could be challenged is the issue. Okay. Do we see?
She looked like she was itching to say something.
She probably is, but she'll hold it for now. Well, I don't know, where do we go from here? We've done it before, and we'll worry about challenge when the challenge comes, how's that?
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'll take those to sign.
okay.
Anything else? We have approval of minutes from the December 16th meeting? Motion
I make a motion to approve the minutes from December 16, 2024.
and a second.
Second.
Further discussion? Any amendments or changes or all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries. Opposed? Okay, carries. We have a non-public. What's that? No, you have to go,
We need to make a motion to go into
yeah, right,
non-public.
yeah.
Oh, we have to shut.
So I need a motion to go
Oh,
to
right,
non-public.
Non-public under RSA 91, RSA 91A. I don't know the rest of the numbers, but
the A, the little, I don't know the rest of the numbers